Hello everyone and welcome back to another CrossWorlds video. Today's video is not going to be about the reviews, even though those seem to be going surprisingly, I say surprisingly as if it were shockingly. They seem to be doing really well. Very excited for that, and I hope that it continues in a steady pace. Today's video is going to be pumping that good old fuel of copium, because Sega still hasn't revealed what the last DLC crossover is for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and I had this thought that came to mind yesterday when I was hanging out with my friend Fez while he was streaming. And you know, whenever you get that thought, like there's a thought that happens and then it like chain reactions, domino effects into other thoughts that just sort of all connect together. You sound like this really insane conspiracy theorist, and like it's just like you can prove it, but like you can't at the same time. That's what happened yesterday, and it really has taken over my entire thoughts of the rest of CrossWorlds when it comes to DLC lineup in general. And while I'm not saying that what I'm about to say is complete fact or is something that is confirmed, again, it's the copium. It's a very long, stretched out hope that would be really freaking cool if it were the case. So let me go ahead and break down the copium for you. All right, so Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, as we all know, has 6 DLC packs that are lined up and will be available throughout the next coming months after the game's released. We also have a bunch of free Sega DLC as well, and we had that one-off comic for CrossWorlds that features Tangle in it, which is already fueling the copium for Tangle being CrossWorlds and hopefully Whisper as well, fingers crossed. I know we got the extreme gear for Whisper and that car that looks like it belongs to Tangle, but I'm gonna hold off on that copium a little bit just so I can fuel this copium that I have for this DLC crossover that I'm about to break down into. So far, we know that most of the DLC packs for this game has multiple characters, and there's one specifically that comes out next year that has 4 playable characters in it, and it's kind of mixed because like on the eShop it shows that Content Pack 6 has 4 playable characters in it, whereas on Steam it shows that Content Pack 5 is the one that has the 4 playable characters, and Content Pack 6 is the one that has 2 playable characters. So it's kind of really up in the air whether or not the Switch version just has it labeled wrong or if the Steam version has it labeled wrong. I'd have to try and cross-reference with other platforms to see if it lines up there, but I don't know if the DLC is listed on other platforms separately yet. I just know that it's listed separately on the eShop, and that's where the convoluting thing starts to really get into play. If I had to take a guess about what the 4 playable characters are, if it is Content Pack 5 that relates to the Avatar Legends pack, I believe. Again, they haven't even updated these to state which one is specifically TMNT or Avatar. But if I had to take a guess, and this is just pure speculation, we know that Pac-Man came in with the ghosts, and the ghosts are all playable through skins. So I feel like it would make sense if the turtles came in and the turtles were skins for one another, and then they had like an extra character there, whether it be Shredder or someone else from the TMNT lineup, maybe even April. So I could very well see that being the case. Also, I could see the case being that they are part of the 4 playable character pack and they all each are unique to one another. The reason I think that is specifically Avatar, though, is because we know certain things that I will not break down in the video because they're leaks, essentially. But if you think about it, Avatar, it would make more sense to have 4 different characters for that represent a different element in Avatar, because you know you have water, air, earth, and fire, and those are all the 4 elements. So I don't know, that's just my speculation here. And now again, it could be completely swapped and one of these platforms are telling a lie, but I feel like as much as Steam has been updated, that someone would have by now realized that Content Pack 6 states that it only has 2 playable characters in it in the description. Like, I just feel like that's something that they would immediately notice on Steam, as opposed to something for Switch, because I think Switch, like, it's more individual what you're doing with it, whereas with Steam, it's more all together. Again, I could be completely wrong about that as well, but considering that Steam doesn't have the DLC listed separately like it does on the eShop, again, I think someone reviewing the Steam page and adding the stuff to the Steam page would quickly realize that Content Pack 6 says 2 playable characters and not 4 playable characters. Now, if it does end up being the 4 playable characters is Content Pack 6, I can 100% seeing Hello Kitty and DC being the picks. Now, again, this is just me coping, right? So, like, what I'm about to break down has no meaning to it other than the fact that it's something that would be very meaningful to me and probably some other people, but mostly to me, because I don't know, something just clicked when I started thinking about it, and I'm gonna stop rambling and actually start breaking it down for you guys. So, if you've been following this channel for a while, you may know that I'm not just a Sonic channel. I have in the past extensively covered Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot a lot. And Crash Bandicoot is like my #1 franchise. Like, if everything was on a podium, it'd go Crash, Sonic, Mario, such and such and such. Why it's been like that, I don't know. I have more of a draw towards the Crash Bandicoot character, have more draw to the games. They're just so fun, they're satisfying to get through, they're challenging as all get out, but it's just, there's something about it that I just really love. And you know, again, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. So, yes, the DLC pack that I think that hasn't been announced yet is Crash Bandicoot. Now, you may be saying, but Dave, Crash is dead. They haven't done anything with the series since Rumble. Rumble killed Crash Bandicoot, Dave. Like, what do you mean it's Crash Bandicoot? Why would they put Crash Bandicoot in Sonic if they're not doing anything with Crash Bandicoot, Dave? Let me fuel the copium for you. All right, so the first pump of copium that I have is that just recently this week, Sega and Activision did a collaboration in Overwatch 2 with Persona 5. Now, why this is important for my copium suite is because it's showing that Sega and Activision are on good terms with one another and respect one another to share IPs amongst one another. Now, yes, this could vice versa dial back and be Overwatch being the 6th content pack, for sure, 100%. That could domino effect into that. But the fact alone that Sega and Atlus both are involved with Persona and that they were approved to get Persona in Activision's Overwatch, it shows that they're on good terms. There's nothing there that's not clouded or anything. They were, you know, Activision reached out to Sega and they're like, hey, can we do Persona? And Sega was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know how that exchange goes, but that's in my head, that's what I think. I think Activision reached out to Sega and pitched the idea of putting Persona or one of their IPs in Overwatch, and Sega was like, yeah, you can do that. So, wouldn't it make sense if they just did a collab with Activision for Activision to be open to putting something from their catalog into a Sega game? Potentially, right? So, we have the Persona collaboration in Overwatch 2 that's going on right now, and I will, again, this is just the beginning of the copium, right? This is just the beginning. We have a rumored state of play coming up soon. I believe the rumored date, or the date that I've seen people throw around a lot, is September 24th, which is the day before CrossWorlds comes out for everyone. Because, you know, you have the 22nd, which is the early access period. If you pre-ordered the game, you'll get early access to the game. But the official launch date for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is September 25th. And wouldn't it just be something for them to announce, like, the last DLC before the game launches at a state of play? It's not like we haven't seen this happen before. Sony and PlayStation always usually tend to get some kind of exclusive thing to showcase from Sega. We saw it with the movie Shadow DLC for Shadow Generations. And again, there's probably other multiple times that we've seen it, essentially with Frontiers possibly as well. You know, they always have something that they're gonna show off for Sega potentially, right? So now you may be wondering, right? You may be wondering, okay, well, you just went from talking about Activision to PlayStation, something related to PlayStation, something that's completely different from Activision. How does that all link together? Well, Activision and now Microsoft own the Crash Bandicoot property, right? They own the Crash Bandicoot property. They still recognize that people know that Crash and Spyro are PlayStation known. These franchises started with the PlayStation, and whenever anybody thinks about Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon, they think of PlayStation. Microsoft was lenient enough for them to include both Crash Bandicoot and Spyro in Astro Bot game. Like, they gave them the rights to do that, and that's a game that's exclusive to the PlayStation. So it's not too far of a reach to say that they would allow PlayStation to announce something related to Crash Bandicoot at a state of play. So that's my thinking, right? You know, you think of Crash Bandicoot, you think of PlayStation. So we have that state of play. It hasn't been confirmed when the date of that is going to be, but if it is the 24th, as rumors are stating, then that's just the perfect opportunity to line up and say what the last DLC for CrossWorlds is. It would line up too perfectly for them to not reveal what the last DLC character is, with the game launching the next day. And we know that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is the best selling on PlayStation right now, more specifically the Digital Deluxe Edition. So just having something to announce that could potentially even push sales further, I don't know. Look, I know it's all copium, but just hear me out, right? We still have a few other things to touch up on here before I get, you know, before the full copium comes full circle, right? So far, I've talked about how Sega is doing a crossover with Activision, and now we've talked about the state of play. There's still a few other factors here, mainly two. The biggest trend in gaming this year seems to have been mostly racing. Even though it's not very widespread, there has been a trend of racing games. You know, you had Mario Kart World in the beginning of the year. We're now getting Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and then at the near the end of the year, we're getting Kirby Air Riders, which is yet again another Nintendo racing game. So let me just point to one specific thing that happened recently this month that just didn't make any sense, like at all. So we know that Crash just recently celebrated his 29th anniversary. Spyro mostly got most of the attention because of Spyro Community Day, but Crash Bandicoot also released September 9th. There was nothing from Crash Bandicoot whatsoever on the 29th anniversary, but something did happen. And now I can't tell if it was on the anniversary or sometime after the anniversary, but the Crash Bandicoot Twitter account and other social media accounts related to Crash Bandicoot specifically changed their bio to something that's very cryptic. If you're really thinking about it, it's something that's super cryptic. So before, the bio used to say something along the lines of like, oh, Crash Team Rumble is out, get it right now, because they haven't done anything since Crash Team Rumble. But now they've updated the bio to say, I don't chase trends, I crash them. What does that mean? Like, huh? You don't chase trends, you crash them? And now that's when it started to click. That's the domino effect that I fell into. This very cryptic bio message that just didn't make any sense spread across multiple social platforms. The trend being racing. You know, everyone would be thinking, oh my god, that everybody's, you know, Mario's getting a racing game, Kirby's getting a racing game, Sonic's getting a racing game. When's Crash gonna get his next racing game? Because wouldn't that just make sense? Wouldn't that make sense for Crash to come out with a racing game with all these racing games coming out this year? He doesn't chase trends. He crashes them. So does that mean that he's about to crash into one of these games? Is he about to come in and crash a party somewhere? Is he about to crash into CrossWorlds? Do you see what I am laying down here? Do you see the foundation of the copium just fueling into this big cloud of copium? It's starting to make sense. It's starting to connect. Why would they randomly change his bio to say something that cryptic if nothing was gonna happen anytime soon? Why would you change your bio and then wait months on end until the Game Awards or next year to reveal that you're doing something with Crash Bandicoot? That just doesn't make any sense, right? Now for the final thing. Content Pack 6 is releasing in Q3 of 2026. Q3 of 2026 lasts from July to September. And what happens next year on September 9th? Crash Bandicoot's 30th anniversary. Wouldn't that just be something? Wouldn't that just be the icing on top of CrossWorlds? To not only be one of the most interesting racing games as of recent, but to also celebrate the anniversary of Crash Bandicoot, who has a critically acclaimed kart racer known as Crash Team Racing, and just recently Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Now, again, it is copium. I'm not saying what I'm saying is fact, but do you see how everything is connecting together and it just is like, it's making sense? Like, maybe it's not making sense from the way that I'm describing it, but in my head, it's all lining up as if it were something to make sense of. I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's so many things here that could potentially disown the copium. 100%. 100% disown the copium. But just to add on a few little extra tidbits, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled and the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy were both published by Sega in Japan. They agreed to help Activision with publishing both the Insane Trilogy and Nitro Fueled in Japan. So Sega 100% knows the power of what this Bandicoot is capable of. Especially just recently with them announcing that worldwide Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled sold 10 million units. So they definitely know that. Also, another little thing that I just want to throw out there because it's funny and I think it's something worth mentioning. Back in 2019, when the fated Team Sonic Racing versus Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled was happening in E3 2019, there was a picture that surfaced up online from Sega Bits, and it was Iizuka himself standing around the Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled booth, watching people play Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. While that could not mean anything, he could have been looking at it to compare to Team Sonic Racing. He could have been looking at it because he's interested in Crash Bandicoot. There's a multiple amount of things that he could have been doing just standing around watching people play Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. He may have known that Sega was publishing it in Japan and decided to take a look at what was going on with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I don't know. But it is something that is so uniquely, like, I don't know, it's so unique to see your competitor or the producer of your competitor standing around your booth watching your game. I'ma say it. I'm locking in my answer. Crash Bandicoot, final DLC. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I don't know, man. There's too many things that just connect the dots and make sense to me. We shall see what the final DLC is, and hopefully we will know by next week, whether it be in a State of Play or at the Tokyo Game Show, because we know that Tokyo Game Show is happening and that CrossWorlds is going to be at Tokyo Game Show. So I'm very interested. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who are you hoping to be the last DLC character or characters? I don't know, man. I think it'd just be something so cool to have Crash Bandicoot come into CrossWorlds, especially after the fact that Nitro Fueled kicked Team Sonic Racing to the curb back in 2019. I see it. I see the vision. If you want to keep up with more Sonic content or more copium from me, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell. It would help out a lot. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Think about it. Just think about it.